Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. And today, somehow, there is a need for us to discover that humility is not a weakness, or humility is not something to be embarrassed about. Humility, because as it is often misunderstood by all of us as a weakness or a submission. In reality, humility is strength in its most grounded form. It is the confidence that does not need to dominate. It is the ability to remain respectful, balanced, and kind even when our life, rewards you with success. Big successes still mean that you need to be able to understand what humility in that means, because that keeps you grounded. Yeah. In everyday life, humility quietly transforms situations into strengths. Have you ever thought of it that way? That our humility can transform situations into strengths. How? In relationships, a partner who listens instead of trying to win every argument will build trust and emotional safety. That means you are in.
चला सकते हैं हाँ सब सब तेरे को अगर चाहिए इसमें उतार दे नहीं तो फिर वो छोटी छोटी डब्बी में उतारना पड़ेगा
Okay, sorry for that disturbance. I just muted the person. Yeah. So as I was saying that, what was I saying? In relationships, when a partner listens instead of trying to win every argument, what happens? You build trust and emotional safety. And that trust and emotional safety can only come when you yourself trust yourself to know that if every argument or any situation which means leading to complications need not be escalated. When one apologizes instead of defending your ego, love deepens rather than weakens. For that moment, perhaps you think that, why should I be the weaker one? Why should I always be the person who's bending? But sometimes in a situation, it becomes imperative that we understand to de escalate. It's not resignation, but done with wisdom to understand, okay, fine, and be humble about it. Because then it immediately weakens the other person's ego too, who do not expect such a reaction from you. And in the process, it can get down to forgiveness and also helping each other out. Among friends, the one who celebrates others' successes without competition becomes a person everybody feels safe around. Have you ever thought of it and looked at it that way? Do you have people like that around you who are happy with your success? And they may be colleagues or partners or in the same kind of line of work or background that you come from. Instead of being competitive, so what happens? You start feeling safe with that person. And that kind of friendship, those kind of friendships, they last longer when humility replaces comparisons. No comparisons, no competition, taking the person at their as they are, being the authentic you in that relationship, celebrating their successes, participating in their joy, maybe adding on to it, and instead of being jealous, envious, frustrated, helpless. Yeah. Among siblings, humility allows that space for forgiveness instead of rivalry. Rivalry is very common among siblings, no? But if we allow ourselves to be operating from a space of humility, where we accept the differences instead of competing for approval or competing for showing one-upmanship, that strengthens family bonds. Can you
मीना साथ
mute,
हो गई
Seema? Can you mute, please? Yeah. So at home, I'm sorry, I was talking about siblings, I think. So in siblings, as I said, if you accept the differences, you see, life's journey has been divined for each one of you in a family. Each one comes, as I said many a times, with their individual stories. So in that story, your path may take you in a direction which is, let's say, medium. You have a good house, a good family, a good, husband, good job. And the other person's path takes them to a little more success in terms of as you see it in the reality. They have better facilities, better everything, and the job also maybe is such of the partners or the whole thing is such that it gives you them a lot more than what you have. So arrogance from that person can set in, but that is their arrogance. If you remain authentic and honest, and your way of dealing with them is the same, that arrogance shifts because they understand that they are not being challenged or they do not have to feel insecure about their success. So there is no competition. So when there's no competition and you accept each other as you are, the family strengthens, the whole bonding strengthens, and there are no misgivings that can happen. Now, at home, when we treat our domestic help or service staff with dignity rather than superiority, what happens? You gain their loyalty and genuine goodwill, genuine goodwill. I'll give you my example here again. When I was working, I was transferred abroad where I had to live for 4 years. So I had my domestic help who has been with me for, I don't know, now it is 40 years, perhaps now. So at that point of time, I went off, I left the home to her, completely open, nothing hidden, and everything was, sort of supposed to be handled. I would keep coming in between. My neighbors told me that without fail, she cleans the house every single day, outside, washing, dusting, cleaning, gardening. And she doesn't let anybody enter the house. She talks to anybody who comes outside the gate. She doesn't allow anybody to enter. And then one of my neighbors decided to just, that curiosity that people have to check. They came at about, 10 o'clock at night. And they rang the bell and peeked out from, watched in from the window to see where does she emerge from. And she emerged from her own room. So they had gone to check whether she is using my facilities because I'm not there. Apart from that, many in the neighborhood kind of, let's say, bribed her that we'll give you X amount more. We'll do this, we'll do that, etc. Come and work for us. Because she has been seen to be a very loyal person. And what did she say? She said, मैं दीदी को कभी नहीं छोड़ूंगी. कम पैसा देती हैं कोई बात नहीं, पर जितने प्यार और इज्जत वो देती हैं वो कोई नहीं दे सकता. So much so that when my son got married, you have this gifting process that happens at receptions. People come up with all those envelopes. She was the one standing behind him with her little bag, and all the envelopes and the money was being given to her. Apart from that, since she was married, unfortunately, she's lost her husband now. Her husband stayed at home all the time because it's a shadi ka ghar. So there were a lot of things that would be in and around the house, and no one, absolutely no one could enter that house. Look at the security it provided me. Look at the freedom it provided me to be able to do all those things that I needed to do absolutely fearlessly, without worry, because there was a faith, there is a dignity, and there is love and care that was being provided by me. And the salary, let me tell you, was not what the market salary could afford, because I couldn't afford it. And I had told her, I said, whenever you want, you can leave. And she said, I don't need to. So when you award and treat your domestic help or service staff with dignity rather than superiority, loyalty and genuine goodwill grows. A respectful word or an acknowledgement of their efforts, what does it do? It creates harmony rather than resentment, which continues and brews inside them silently. Yeah? At workplaces, if the people in authority, like say bosses or leaders who remain approachable, they inspire cooperation instead of fear. People would want to work for them. People would go out of their way to, oblige them. These are all symbols of humility. Remember, this all comes under humility. Humility doesn't mean just being humble like this. Correct? So what happens in the process? Employees perform better, and when they feel, and that's normal, because if they feel respected instead of being intimidated, the comfort level is so high that their performances also make a difference. Often, arrogance and fear of failing, fear of losing status, fear of appearing weak, all these things, these are hidden because of arrogance. So you put arrogance in the front and all these fears because you don't want to fail again, you don't want to lose your status, you don't want to appear weak. These start taking prominence. When success is used to mask your past wounds, behavior becomes very defensive. But when success flows naturally from one's life, what happens? Humility grows effortlessly. And such success feels light, it feels inclusive, it feels generous. True humility does not shrink you. It allows you to grow without fearing kindness. It allows you to shine without dimming others. Yeah. So today's meditation is for us to release the belief that success demands arrogance and allows prosperity to coexist with grace and grounded strength. And this humility, this meditation also helps us to bring humility into relationships. So it's a relationship with everything, right? With partners, family, friends, those who support your daily life, your work colleagues, your bosses, every aspect of your life, relationships. Many relationship conflicts, normally arise because of lack of love, not from lack of love, sorry, but from ego, fear of being wrong, fear of losing control, or the need to always prove yourself right in any relationship, personal, business, social, everywhere, right? So remember, humility in relationships is not a surrender. It's an emotional strength. It allows listening instead of reacting, understanding instead of judging, and forgiving instead of trying to keep scores. So, when humility enters into relationships of all kinds, what happens? Partners stop competing and start supporting each other. Friends feel safe to share their vulnerabilities. Siblings move from rivalry to companionship. Family bonds soften when apologies, help and replace stubbornness. Every interaction with your people who work for you, your helpers, your service staff becomes warmer, creating harmony in everyday living so that you can live your life better. So we understand that humility allows relationships to become spaces of growth rather than battlefields of ego. I know it has been a long explanation today, but I wanted us to understand what exactly humility means. So now, close your eyes, take a deep breath, breathe in gently and breathe out fully. Relax your face, your shoulders, your chest. Allow your breathing to soften your heart. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in humility and strength. Breathe out resistances and ego. Breathe in positive approach and breathe out selfishness and arrogance. Breathe in, breathe out. Return to normal breathing. Invoke your healing masters, healing guides, healing angels, your higher consciousness, radical consciousness, love consciousness, prosperity consciousness, your teachers, mentors, gurus, and guides. Seek their blessings, seek their guidance, seek their support, seek their understanding, seek their partnership to continue guiding you to master humility as you travel life's journey to connect to the eternal consciousness and the prime resource energy in an easy and effortless manner. Collect all your personal thoughts wherever they are in the universe. See them centering you, entering you. And when you feel centered, take another deep breath and recite with me or after me. I transform and transcend ego in my relationships. I transform and transcend ego in my relationships. I transform and transcend ego in my relationships. I transform and transcend my need to always be right. I transform and transcend my need to always be right. I transform and transcend my need to always be right. I transform and transcend my reactions that are born out of hurt. I transform and transcend my reactions that are born out of hurt. I transform and transcend my reactions that are born out of hurt. I transform and transcend my fear of emotional vulnerability. I transform and transcend my fear of emotional vulnerability. I transform and transcend my fear of emotional vulnerability. I transform and transcend competition within relationships. I transform and transcend competition within relationships. I transform and transcend competition within relationships. I transform and transcend pride that blocks reconciliation. I transform and transcend pride that blocks reconciliation. I transform and transcend pride that blocks reconciliation. I transform and transcend the habit of blaming others. I transform and transcend my habit of blaming others. I transform and transcend my habit of blaming others. I transform and transcend all resentments that are stored in my heart. I transform and transcend all resentments that are stored in my heart. I transform and transcend all resentments that are stored in my heart. I transform and transcend the harsh words spoken by me in anger. I transform and transcend the harsh words spoken by me in anger. I transform and transcend the harsh words spoken by me in anger. I transform and transcend emotional defensiveness. I transform and transcend emotional defensiveness. I transform and transcend emotional defensiveness. I transform and transcend my fear of apologizing. I transform and transcend my fear of apologizing. I transform and transcend my fear of apologizing. I transform and transcend all my expectations that burden relationships. I transform and transcend all my expectations that burden relationships. I transform and transcend all my expectations that burden relationships. I transform and transcend jealousy and comparison. I transform and transcend jealousy and comparison. I transform and transcend jealousies and comparisons. I transform and transcend past misunderstandings. I transform and transcend past misunderstandings. I transform and transcend past misunderstandings. I transform and transcend my fear of being misunderstood. I transform and transcend my fear of being misunderstood. I transform and transcend my fear of being misunderstood. I transform and transcend the emotional distance from my loved ones. I transform and transcend the emotional distance from my loved ones. I transform and transcend the emotional distance from my loved ones. I transform and transcend my control patterns in relationships. I transform and transcend my control patterns in relationships. I transform and transcend my control patterns in relationships. I transform and transcend all my hurts from past conflicts. I transform and transcend all my hurts from past conflicts. I transform and transcend all my hurts from past conflicts. I transform and transcend my need for constant approval. I transform and transcend my need for constant approval. I transform and transcend my need for constant approval. I transform and transcend my rigid expectations of others. I transform and transcend my rigid expectations of others. I transform and transcend my rigid expectation of others. I transform and transcend the emotional walls around my heart. I transform and transcend the emotional walls around my heart. I transform and transcend the emotional walls around my heart. I transform and transcend my patterns of silent resentment. I transform and transcend my patterns of silent resentment, I transform and transcend my patterns of silent resentment. I transform and transcend my judgment towards my loved ones. I transform and transcend my judgment towards my loved ones. I transform and transcend my judgment towards my loved ones. I transform and transcend my guilt from past relationship mistakes. I transform and transcend my guilt from past relationship mistakes. I transform and transcend my guilt from past relationship mistakes. I transform and transcend all my resistance to love humbly. I transform and transcend all resistance to loving humbly. I transform and transcend all resistance to loving humbly. Take a deep breath. Feel the lightness as all these messages of transform and transcend enter every cell, every fiber, every muscle, every tissue, every organ, and every chakra of your body. Sense the vibrations shifting. Sense your thought process aligning to what is needed to understand humility. Sense yourself synchronizing to the frequency of humility. Because healthy relationships do not demand perfection, they require openness. And humility allows us to grow together rather than drift apart. When ego softens, communication improves, forgiveness becomes easier, and love flows naturally. Relationships thrive not when we win arguments, but when we preserve connection. Choose understanding over victory, compassion over control, and humility over ego. Sense these messages of radical entering every part of your body. Feel the light of radical spreading this message through and through your body. And when you feel the flow within yourself, take the takeaway mantra, the soul's love mantra for you today is, with soul's love, I choose humility, healing, and harmony in all my relationships. With soul's love, I choose humility, healing, and harmony in all my relationships. With soul's love, I choose humility, healing, and harmony in all my relationships. Let these messages settle in. Feel the lightness. Feel the relaxation. Get a sense that you have released something today or are allowing yourself to release something today. Feel the fulfillment and the completion. And when you feel fulfilled, rub your palms together, massage your face, your scalp, cup your eyes, massage your neck, your shoulder, your arms, your body, your legs, your feet. Sense all your energies aligning from the ground to the crown chakra. And when you feel completely aligned, you can open your eyes. Take your time. Thank you for the heart, Sheetal. Any thoughts, any questions, any observations, any experience, any learnings that you'd like to share? Yes, Vigda?
Thank you.
Hi, ma'am. So my energy was very heavy to begin with. But as we went ahead, it became much lighter. Thank you. I'm feeling quite light now.
Awesome, awesome, great, great.
Ma'am, thank you so much. It was same thing with me. I was feeling very restless, and currently I'm quite settled and calm.
Awesome. So
And
anyway,
you're looking beautiful, ma'am. The totally, the pink aura all around. It says openness, heart chakra.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, this recitation will be available anyway on the, as a recording. So you can always refer back to it. It's important. I've posted there just for all of us. So have a referral. And then you can always go back to the YouTube, and check out which one I need today for myself. And they're all listed there. You can, choose any one. So it's important for us to know that energetically, we may say that everything, you see, it's like, let's look at the environment, the atmosphere. It's the same air which has been provided to the whole world. But in certain places, it becomes dense. And in certain places, it is so clean and so clear and so beautiful, right? There is a journey involved in making sure that from the dense air, it becomes clean. And somewhere it is just natural. So, from that density to come out and for us to start feeling natural, there would be processes and needs, that have to be taken care of. I mean, like the pollution that we have in Delhi, it needs solutions. Pollution needs solutions. Okay, that's lovely. But it may not be happening completely, right? The rivers, they are being polluted, but they don't stop flowing. They continue to flow. Because ultimately, when they have to meet with their oneness, and that is the ocean, they are fine. Because by that time, they may have let go of all the pollution, or if they have accepted that pollution as part of them and not be affected by it, they will still meet the masters. Because they were not impure. The pollution that was provided in them is not them, and they continue to flow. Correct? So we have to learn a lot. So you can keep going back to all the recitations and choose whatever feels right for you for that day. It's a constant journey. Yeah. Thank you, Sheetal. And you're looking pretty too, looking glowing today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else would like to add something? Darshana says, thank you. Nowadays, recitations give insight to all my ongoing issues. Yeah, Darshana, that is great, and everything that happens, you see, the shifts that are happening in your life also are happening because you are allowing those shifts within you. And when those shifts happen, things start becoming easier and you start seeing the positives, even the smallest things that are occurring around you. And may that journey continue for you. That's what I pray for. Anybody else would like to add something? Say something?
Yeah, hi ma'am. So you gave the example of your this thing, the house help, and I could so much resonate with it because I personally have realized if you treat a person equally, they are ready to beyond of their own self and to do anything. They're ready to come back and do extra things without even asking. That smile, and you don't see that pain in them. Generally they don't accommodate for anybody else, but people whom they know, they are ready to go beyond one step and do that. I could really resonate with that. And all the recitation affirmations, all that I was doing in my life, judging and all resentment and everything. So I think now that transform and transcend, I am on the path where the awareness and realizations have become so much that when I look back, I am like, okay, I was so much like that, and now it's like, why did I? Okay, I had to learn a lesson. That's there. But then, yeah, when I look back, all your recitations every day makes me realize that how far where I was and how far we all have come. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sridhar. This means a lot. And yes, what you talked about, helpers or other people, you see, they are not forgetting their position in life where they have been positioned by the universe. I mean, they're not expecting that they'll become masters of your life or your surrounding, your house, or everything. But when we give them that honor and that dignity and that respect and treat them with love and care, what are we doing? We are dignifying them. And that is the only thing that matters in life, for anybody. That you should just dignify them, give them that respect and honor. And they'll go out of their way to look after you. They'll go out of their way to do things for you. And
Yeah,
I'm
ma'am.
sure, yeah, somebody said something.
No, I said very much. That's so true.
So, and that goes for all kinds of people. I told you about my office worker at work. I
Yeah.
told you this. I can even give an example of my, the ironing lady, the press wala, and in the colony that I lived earlier, there was a different charge for others, and there was a different charge for me. So, and sometimes people used to say that you don't, you take only this much from her and this much from us for the same cloth that you have to iron. What did she say? She says, वो हमारी इज्जत करती है. And what was my izzat? Of course, every day I would greet them or I would always ask क्या हाल है. That is all. And
Yeah.
सब ठीक है. Every single day, just not come and dump the clothes के इतने कपड़े and all that. And for me, it has become, I'm sure most of you also do it, or rather all of you must be doing it. I made it very clear to them, don't ever ask me for anything in terms of साड़ी दे दो, कपड़े दे दो, ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया. Especially whether it's a festival or anything, don't ever ask me for anything. Whatever I feel like, I'll do. And I used to do that. Suddenly, so many things are coming out of the house, whether they were utensils, whether they were clothes, whether they were rajais, etc., or educating their children. I mean, I would do these kind of things. What I could do, which I think most of us must be doing. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm the one doing it. But see the result. It's not about that 2 rupees or 1 rupee that I was saving because she was taking less from me. But it was her way of respecting and honoring what was being done to her. And they were very sad when I left, of course. So, yeah, that is life. And that is the way we have to learn. There's so many things we can learn. So, I'm not saying that I'm very Mahan when I'm doing all this. I'm sure all of you are also doing it. It's just a reminder to us, that we can continue to be good, we can be nice, we can continue to care. And all this is a reflection of humility. And that brings good results always. Yeah?
Yeah.
Great. So thank you, everyone. And anything else if you'd like to share? Okay, so tomorrow is Fulsome Friday, and is Minu here? Minu, are you here? Mindu, oh Minu, what's her name? No, she's not here today. All right. So technically, it was supposed to be a singing day tomorrow, so we'll see if we can still do it as a singing day, or we'll do something else. And just to tell you, I'm traveling tomorrow onwards. I won't be in the country. I will be doing recitations from where I'm going, but there may not be recordings. So if you want to record, you'll have to switch on your own phones or something, if you want to record it. Because I won't be carrying my laptop, and I don't think you can record in an iPad. Okay? So just warning you in advance, there will be no recordings for 15 days. So you can do your own recordings. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. All the best. Bye bye.